Hello, in today's video I will continue to talk about racing game tracks for over 15 minutes. In all seriousness though, unlike Mario Kart, ATV Off-Road Fury is a much less well-known series with only 4, technically 6 games to boot. But for now, we're going to focus on the very first installment that was released over 22 years ago. Here's all 18 ATV Off-Road Fury Tracks 1, ranked from worst to best, with my own rating too. Enjoy! 18. Wilkes-Barre. The worst course in the game, folks. Right here. Driving on this gives the same feeling of going down a wavy slide. Looks fun on paper, but in reality it's double hockey sticks. There sure are a lot of hills though. Maybe they vary in size or variety? No. Are they fun to go off of? That would be a no. Is this one same hill asset copy and pasted onto a dirt straightaway? Yes. Twice. Well, some of them have a top on one side that's slightly higher than the other, but it really doesn't help the case that much. And the cherry that Rainbow Studios placed on this concoction is that the darn turns have this stupid ridge on them that will probably make you crash. I guess it's within the theme for the track, and I might just need to get better at the game, but this is a frustrating one until the end, plain and simple. 17. Somers Raceway. And for the second worst, we have a track that looks like a rotting intestine. What do they do with this painfully long, funny shape? Oh, they just place bumps right into oncoming turns that are frustrating enough to make. Yay! Racing on this track is like trying to go down a rocky, snowy mountain with one of those little EV cars you get at Walmart. When you do finish first every once in a blue moon, sure, it's satisfying and it feels like you've defeated a boss. But worth it? I don't think so. 16. Badlands. Finishing off the bottom 3, we have this ironically named course. Now, if you take a look at the mini-map at the bottom left corner, you'll see that it looks like a New York subway map rather than an ATV racetrack. It's pretty much the Wario Stadium in this game. Looks like it could be fun, but by the second lap hits, you just want it to be over and done with. And that's definitely not a good sign. It just kind of gets boring after the first lap because it's a generic trail mix of somewhat hard turns, bumps and jumps over other parts of the track, and stuff like that. Doing that for over 2 laps gets old real quick. At least the scenery is decent, but it makes for a rip-roaring mediocre time for the whole gang. 15. Syracuse. Hey, wait a minute, this looks strikingly similar to last place Wilkes-Barre. What's going on? Okay, so basically the track selection is split into 7 stadium tracks, which all take place in a stadium, who would have guessed, and the other 11 are regular environmental tracks. With that out of the way, the bottom 3 are the only real duds. This one is just okay. It's 100 times more tolerable than Wilkes because it actually has functional turns and different sized hills. They're also more varied with the said hill shapes that are spaced out so your suspensions have rooms to breathe. My only problem with this track is that there are some hills you'll go up only to land on another poorly placed one, so I guess Rainbow's hill game hasn't completely improved yet. Spoilers, it does later on. Still a huge improvement though. 14. Tamarack Ranch. Originally planned to be way lower, I played this course one more time and actually warmed up to it. Only a little though. It is the final track in the game, technically, so I guess it's supposed to be hard, but still, you're constantly going either way uphill or airborne and on the way down. The bumps and mounds can be a little unfair and leave your ATV bodiless, but my main point is that there's one jump that literally wants you to go over an extremely steep ledge from below And if you don't get it right, well, you're done, because the CPUs here are extra good on this perfectly alright final boss. 13. Tupelo. For our next stadium course, we have a slightly better Syracuse. Here's why. So basically, it starts on a sweet straightaway. They're a bit more creative with their hills and bumps, with big ones that give you amazing air, and a strip of very tiny bumps, which is great fun because your wheels practically glide across them. Again, some drawbacks are a few awkwardly placed jumps. And is it just me, or are there more crash boxes in this course than usual? Hitting those suck because you could not even be going that fast, but if you bump into them the wrong way, then you're thrown out of your ATV. If you get past all that though, it's still a Gucci track. 12. Kodiak Pipeline. This track is short, sweet, and away from the heat. It's pretty bumpy with plenty of opportunities to get some nice air too. Above ground pipes outline the track, but you do go under one for an added spectacle, which I think is pretty cool. The turns are pretty fair too, which is surprising because this is an ice and snow course, where that is usually not the case. Less is more, kids. "11. Lexington Trail. I have a pretty complicated relationship with this course. On one hand, it's beautiful, set in what looks like a crisp Virginia autumn, with a handful of nice turns and hills. But then some of those hills will throw you into a sign on the edge of a turn. And there's one of those wavy segments which I personally can't stand, but it's fine, it's all fine. I think the positives outweigh the negatives. This is also one of the 4 default courses unlocked from the start, so I've played it a lot. Those other 3 courses are coming up soon though, so stay tuned as we enter the top 10. 10. Santa Fe. Flew out of Lexington and now we're in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But the stadium looks exactly the same as it does everywhere else. Besides that, this track pretty good. It starts on a nice little straightaway, which I like. The turns on this course are also fairer than the weather here, and I think there's nothing wrong with the course not being the hardest thing in the world. The jumps can also be regular sized, which is fine, but then they have super jumps, which are like twice the size, and when you preload right, your ATV should fly right over the dirt. Unfortunately, this course has go off a hill, land on a hill syndrome, but it's not as bad as some of the other tracks. Glad to see New Mexico still delivers on bringing us good stuff. Nine. Yucatan Dunes. Another one of the pre-unlocked courses. This one's fun if you got the controls down. Thankfully, I do from playing this game for so long. There's lots of bumps along the way, which can get a little annoying, but they're nicely sized and aren't too much of a hassle. There's also a few interesting turns that can give your wheels a real wide, because you'll need to jerk that right stick if you want to make some of them. To finish it all off, you have to jump over a previous piece of sand road that you'll need to clear if you want to pass the finish line in style. This track is named after a region in Mexico, so muy bien and such. 8. Chesapeake, the starter stadium track and the second best one too. But anyways, we're back in Virginia. With this being a shorter track, it means there's less room for GOH, LOH syndrome, and other common stadium problems. You'll start off on a little straight section away from the track, nice. The bumps aren't a pain to go over, double nice. And these good little bumps and amazing jumps are accompanied by a group of satisfactory turns for a great few laps of dirt fun. Triple nice. And you know, the crazy thing is, this and Wilkes Barre are the two default stadium courses. How ironic. 7. Presidio Park. While Chesapeake is the starter stadium course, this is the very first environmental course. This track, set on a woodsy camping ground, is perfect for testing out new ATVs, tricks, and playstyles for the 17 courses to come. But still, even as an actual course, it's not bad at all. It has everything you could want to start you out. It has plenty of wide enough turns to get a feel from the controls. Then it introduces you to bumps and airtime with the medium-sized one that help you practice suspension preloading. And finally, there's a sharp turn around a water tower because, oh boy, are there a lot of those in this game. You really couldn't have asked for a better beginning to a vastly underrated game. Six, Menifee. And now we're jumping all the way to the very end here. Wow. This is the final stadium course, and pretty much the whole game too, and I think it did a better job than Tamarack. While that course may be final in terms of difficulty and other things like that, this is the true finale of the game because it takes everything you learned and stuffs it into one final labyrinth of challenges. Normal turns? Check. Sharp U-turns? Check. Jumps off of bumps big and small? Check. Obstacles you can crash into? Checkarooski. You'll need to conquer all of these while staying ahead of the pack to take home the gold one last time. Until you decide to play the game again, which I can assure you won't be long of a wait. Number 5, Salem's Backlot. Movie title references aside, I find this a very stunning and enjoyable track. It's the only course that takes place during nighttime, which is shocking because it really sells the atmosphere of the track and makes that sweet full moon stand out more. With this course being set in a forest in dusk, it kind of adds an extra challenge till you get help from the brightness of the moon. About the actual track though, it's still stellar, but I'm running out of different ways to say nice turns and good air opportunities from the cool bumps and hills. But yeah, it does have those. Yay! Four, Latrobe. Barely cheated out of a shiny top 3 medal, we have come to the very best stadium track. It just has everything I could possibly want in a stadium course. Now that concept may sound similar in design to Menifee, but this one isn't quite as big and not as chock full of so many obstacles. That's actually for the better though, as it makes this track way more digestible. There's a tiny bump section, which is always a great thing. Oh wait, there's 2 of them? And one of them has a bigger jump next to it if you don't like it, meaning there's something for everyone? Awesome! And this idea of 2 choices on a hill can be seen throughout the track so that most laps can play different from other laps. Even more awesome! Finally, the best part is that there's very little awkward landing spots that will mess you up. Yes! There's also variety in turn sharpness, hill sizes and styles, the whole shebang. The real kicker here is that we're in Pennsylvania. Also home to the bottom spot that just so happens to be a stadium track that I'm tired of mentioning because I don't want to mention it. Well, Rainbow Studios, you may have put me through a lot of other subpar tracks, but I think it was all worth it to get the courses like these. Now let's see our bronze, silver, and gold recipients. Three, Chateau Halifax. The matters with this one. I think this is the track I've played the most, too. That's because it's the second course unlocked out of the gate, right after Presidio. Consider it your first real test to see if you can handle the ATV you chose. You start off by going uphill a bit before the road goes flat onto a turn, and if you want to stay on the course and not go flying into the trees, which has happened to me more times than I want to admit, your brakes are a necessity. Then a few more turns and altitude increases, you'll get to my favorite part. You drive under what seems to be a ski lodge, go off a little ice mound, and wham! You're sailing through the cold air and can see some of the track ahead. Then, ooh! The suspension gets a real wake-up call as you're thrown into a section of almost half-like turns that are real entertaining to make. One pretty tolerable bump section and a U-turn later, congratulations, you fortunately get to do it again. And if that has you thinking, wow, that sounds like fun in the bun, it is. Trust me with this gem, it is. 2. Red Rocks. This and the last one we talked about were a close second, but I think this one has a little more oomph put into it, if you know what I mean. If we thought the jump in Halifax was big, you haven't seen nothing yet. There's not one massive rocky ramp, not two, but 3 massive ones that all sort of overlap with each other, which truly creates an extraordinary time. I like how there's no other nonsense added to this course. Heck, I think it's the only one without any really bumpy sections or any extra obstacles besides your Utah Red Rocks that the course is named after. It's just you, the 4 computer players along for the ride, some on-right turns, and the outside air flowing through you and your ATV. Landing might be a problem, but considering this is the course right before Tamarack, you should have it all down by now. With that out of the way, this leaves us with just one track left, the one above them all. You might know what it is, you might not. But regardless, let's see who really got first place here. Number 1, Manitoba Mills. When I was going through all the locked tracks, seeing only a screenshot of said tracks to see what they're about, I knew this one stood out as a course I needed to play. And boy was I right. I actually can't think of a real genuine flaw besides maybe it's not the most beautiful or graphically stunning track in the game. Maybe. There's opportunities to go fast and get ahead of the other racers, but there's also parts where you want to be mindful of everything else or it will cost you. Carefully trekking uphill and taking sharp, potentially dangerous turns, but then there's points where you can soar into the wooded air, go wild, trick like a daredevil, and just tear up the track with some wider turns and bends. Don't forget the staple bump sections in this game. That's perfectly alright because it's overshadowed by all the other glorious parts of this course. Yes, this is also the course you saw in the thumbnail. That was definitely planned for the start and not a coincidence in any way. And that's why I think this is, hands down, the best ATV off-road fury track of all time. Now remember kids, this is just my opinion. And that's it for my second video. This took way longer than the Mario Kart video, so your like and sub would be really appreciated. Rita Quati, signing out with a new video soon, hopefully. Peace.